Hello, everyone. My name is Hirsch Gate. I'm here with,
Elias Gartman.
And Kenyon Coles,
and we are here to talk about.
the economy of the video game industry.
Alrighty, Elias, what is your main, I guess, issue with the economy or the overall topic of the video game industry?
My main issue is the hardware required to play these games, like the GPUs and CPUs. They are extremely expensive and often shouldn't be because I think the game should be more optimized.
Yeah. And Kenny?
My issue with the video game economy and industry as of right now would be the prices and why they're so high.
Yeah. As referring to Kenyon's topic, yes, I believe the prices are getting higher, especially if you see the more like recently released games, their prices have been higher when comparing them to past games. And um, another thing that I would like to bring up, the increase in free-to-play games. Some famous names here are Fortnite, Call of Duty, Warzone. Even though Call of Duty, the actual platform, isn't free to play, Call of Duty has launched a free to play battle royale version of their game, which is actually, I believe, the most played as of right now. Correct?
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah. Along with Apex Legends, another famous name in that section. Um, So, what do we know about free-to-play games? Right? So these guys, instead of using the traditional model of buying the game and funding their game or funding their company through that, they use in-app purchases. They use subscription-based model. I know that Fortnite uses a membership called the Crew.
The Fortnite Crew, yeah.
The Fortnite Crew, which gives you the what is it? The
Gives
battle
you,
pass.
It gives you all of the battle passes on top of 1,000 V-Bucks, which doesn't.
Is the in-game
Yeah.
currency. Along with this, mentioning the in-game currency, a lot of games, free-to-play games, use in-game currency to boost their revenue. Especially Fortnite with their V-Bucks, Call of Duty with their
COD points.
COD
Their
points.
COD points.
And Apex with their, I believe, Apex points, correct?
Yeah.
And even like games that are online, like Roblox, for that.
Yeah,
Use
Roblox.
Yeah, and these games themselves are targeted towards a younger audience, especially more older individuals don't have time to play these games. So you would say that they rely on the younger audience to purchase these.
They do, yeah. And I would say that is a bit predatory in a way, and because of the fact that it could lead to these younger people going to their parents, right, and making them spend their money on these things, which are also getting more expensive. By in the way of them getting expensive would be like, I would say just they try to put it off as inflation.
Yeah.
Or
and
things
actually,
like that.
another thing that I would like to bring up on this, it's leading into Eliza's topic here, mentioning the price of these in-game currencies and how they're getting more expensive, and especially free-to-play games and their in-app purchases getting more expensive.
Yeah.
Leading into Elias's point, where they're targeting younger audiences, where their parents try to get their kids more. What was it? More expensive and adaptable like game systems, especially like hardware. They want to update their game's hardware so that their kid remains happy, right?
Yeah.
Because after all, it's a kid. So, Elias, what do you have to say about the price point, or yes, the overall the hardware? What do you have to say about that?
Well, games have been getting more and more unoptimized, and the higher tiers of gaming. So first you have 1080p, which is your traditional, and then you have 1440p, and then now 4K is becoming more and more popular. Another aspect of this is to render these video games, you also need a monitor, and these monitors are getting increasingly expensive. Like for a 4K monitor, it's extremely extremely expensive for anything to be more than like 60 hertz, which it refreshes 60 times. So to even get full benefit of a higher end graphics card and CPU, you need a higher end monitor so the hertz matches. If you have, let's say the GPU says that it can render 144 frames, but you have a 60 hertz monitor, it's useless. It's capped at 60.
Yeah.
And just a requirement to continually upgrade your rig to run these games that are not optimized, and they're just like, you rely on upscaling, so the GPUs render it at a lower quality, and then they upscale it using AI and just other technologies, like their models, the way they upscale it. It's just, you shouldn't have to do this when you're spending several $100s, if not thousands of dollars on a graphics card, just a graphics card. And this goes into your CPU, which if you have a high-end graphics card, you also need a high-end CPU to match that, otherwise you'll get CPU limited. And if you have both of these like very high end, you also need a power supply to match the power output required for these two units. And that goes into the amount of VRAM, because graphics cards need more and more VRAM to run these games. And to upscale it, that also requires VRAM. And then that just goes to your monitor. If you're limited by your monitor, your GPU and your CPU are already limited by your monitor. If let's say you have a 1080p at 60 hertz, then that's your max. And so all that other money you spent upgrading your system is useless, and it's just extremely annoying having to constantly update it, just because games are horribly optimized and the prices of these technologies have only increased.
Overall, yeah, I agree with your points. Also, for the folks at home that don't actually know what GPU and CPU stand for, GPU is a graphics processing unit, along with CPU is a central processing unit. Elias, can you explain VRAM for us?
So VRAM is the amount of RAM allocated on a graphics processing unit, and certain games, like nowadays, you could get up to requiring as high as like 18 gigabytes of VRAM,
Which is very expensive.
That is
extremely
very
expensive. Modern GPUs, like the 4090, which had 24 gigabytes of VRAM, costed like $1,600, and that was at launch. And often when graphics cards are launched, their prices are even higher because the prices get scalped and there's low stock. And low stock is an issue because there's only a couple of companies or organizations that are capable of producing these graphics cards. First being TSMC, they're the main suppliers to AMD CPUs, GPUs, as well as NVIDIA's GPUs. They also supply the semiconductors required, the processing units required in smartphones. So there's a huge demand, and that causes an increase in the supply.
Along with these new methods for advertising, making the more expensive forms of hardware more, they push towards it. I forgot the word there, but they want you to keep updating your system and spending more money.
Yeah.
And it makes it hard for a individual, especially like even going off the topic of video games a little bit, even with regular individuals, where their work relies on social media and especially like phones, right? Mobile phones have gotten more expensive, especially a phone like this, which is an iPhone 15, costs roughly $1,000 more than that even, and they're getting way more expensive, even though it is a necessity. Many would say it's a necessity for everyday life. Kenan, do you have anything to add?
Well, I would also like to add on to what Elias was saying with the video games and the processing and all that. I would like to say that it just gets even more expensive from there because the games in themselves, some of them you have to pay up front to be able to play it, right? Not free to play, none of that. But they also have systems of microtransactions which incentivize people to buy more when they, as Elias was saying, the games are not optimized and some of them are just not finished. But they make people buy games full price for what, $70, $80, right? And then they have people buy microtransactions for customizations for their character.
I
And
believe the
But-
term that Kenan is looking for are DLC packages.
Yeah.
which are like extensions on the main body of the game. Many games like Forza, I believe Cyberpunk do this, and yeah, keep going.
DLC would be more content onto the game.
Yeah.
Microtransactions, however,
Strictly appearance based.
strictly appearance based most of the time. They want you to pay for things, for customization for your character, even though you should be able to unlock it regularly when you buy the game for
Yeah.
full price. I would say that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels really greedy what they're doing. And on top of that, you have to have the correct system and the correct hardware to be able to run said game. And so overall, the average setup for a game that you want to play is just the price is just skyrocketed, and I don't feel like it's fair for anybody who wants to just relax and play a video game.
Actually, a game that I would like to mention on here is Forza. Forza Horizon 5 is a driving simulator uh, that promotes using special controllers like a steering wheel along with pedals and a gear shifter. These units also cost a lot more than the regular setup, along with flight simulators like Microsoft Flight Sim, along with War Thunder that have controls that are based on actual um, aircraft controls. They have the joystick along with the throttle control. These units also cost way more, leading to inflationary, or sorry, leading to an increase in price of just setting up the game. Yeah.
All this just goes to show that taking up gaming as a hobby has become increasingly more expensive, both in purchasing the game as well as the products that you get inside the game, like with the currencies and the cosmetics, they all cost money, and also just buying hardware to run these games is getting increasingly expensive, and just makes it less and less ideal to take up as a hobby.
Exactly. Alrighty, that will be all, ladies and gentlemen, for this podcast. Thank you, Mr. P, for this opportunity, and thank you, Elias Garman, Kenny Coles. Thank you for showing up on this podcast. Alrighty. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.